What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with DFS, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video is going over the Wildcard playoff DFS. So this is not one specific contest. This is just all 6 games. They have these. Obviously, we're looking at it. But the main slates are going to be the Saturday and then the Sunday. Not going to be a full. Those contests aren't as appealing. They don't have as much plays in them. The Millie Makers are on the Sunday, Saturday, and then of course Monday night. So if you're looking for all 6 games, I'm gonna break it down for you. These are not. I'm not gonna have a specific 6 game. It'll be the 2, the 3, and the 1. So let's get into just breaking down everything and going over what we know. So we get Josh Allen and the Bills almost 10-point favorites, I believe now, against Pittsburgh, who's going to be down their best defensive player, kind of the heart and soul of that defense. It's built around TJ and how good he is. But on the Bills side, still not where they need to be offensively. And go look at Josh Allen's stats against Miami. 30 of 38, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. 29 DK points, right? Rushes for 67. Josh Allen balls out, right? But that team turns the ball over in spots they don't need to. It didn't seem like they got James Cook going as much as they wanted to. And Allen and Diggs had a better connection than they have recently. But it still wasn't there. But in playoffs, a lot of that changes. It's kind of where some of these big name guys step up most of the time. So Josh Allen, 8,000, I think is a good play against this Pittsburgh defense. I don't think you need to go there yet, but it's definitely 10-point favorites can't be bad. So in playoffs, 10-point favorites, like I still think it's hard to cover 10 points, but Josh Allen I do like at 8K. Jalen Hurts 7,700 against Tampa. This one's gonna be something to watch out for. Baker Mayfield not listed questionable, but if you saw him in that game against Carolina, who Tampa Bay struggled. And we'll get to that soon, but Jalen Hurts, broken middle finger, didn't come back in the game. Devontae Smith, didn't play. A.J. Brown got hurt. So checking the status of those guys, I imagine they both are good, but we'll see what that looks like. But Jalen Hurts against Tampa, I'd say if Jalen Hurts and his wide receivers are good to go, then I'm good with Jalen Hurts at 7,700. Going against a defense who is, they're still banged up, and they haven't been what they were before. But you look week 3 when they faced off. Jalen Hurts almost 300 yards, 2 interceptions in that game. Rushing touchdown, which Jalen Hurts usually does. But 21 DK points. At 7,700, that's not bad. 21 isn't bad at 7,700. Obviously, if you're paying up, you'd rather get closer to 30 than 20. But I still think 21 at 7,700 is good. All the quarterback prices are fairly good too. So Dak Prescott 7,600 going against Green Bay. And just before we move on, this Philly Tampa, I imagine the prices, since it's going to be a primetime or a showdown, these aren't going to be the prices. But if you're looking for a full week, if you're doing the full weekend or Sunday to Monday, then this will be their price. So just to make that clear before we go on talking more about the Philly-Tampa game. Dak Prescott, though, against Green Bay. This one's a tough one. I still think Green Bay's got a really good defense. Have stepped up when they need to, but the Dallas offense is really unreal. Dak against a very bad Washington secondary, right? 31 of 36. 4 touchdowns, almost 300 yards. 26 DK points. I don't think they played this season, right? No. But yeah, it goes back to Dallas at home. You look, Dak, 26.8 DK points, 22 touchdowns, 3 picks, and averaging 308 yards. So Dallas in playoffs isn't always the greatest thing, but they get Green Bay this time, so we'll see what that looks like. I think that's a great option. And then looking at it, Patrick Mahomes 7,100 against Miami. Mahomes keeps going down in price. If you were to tell me when the season started that MVP Super Bowl winning quarterback who's at the prime of his career essentially in the beginning of the season, where he's still getting 20, 25, 25 is going to drop down all the way to 7,100. I wouldn't believe you. I wouldn't. I'd say Andy Reid and that offense will find a way to make that offense click no matter who they have. But with guys not stepping up and Kadarius Toney, MVS having a down year, even though I don't think he's ever had an up year, but a down year. And no one really else stepping up on the receiving side besides Rashee Rice. Justin Watson maybe, but even Travis Kelce having a down year. But Patrick Mahomes, 7,100 against a Miami defense that is just getting more and more and more banged up. I obviously like the running game for Kansas City, but I think Patrick Mahomes and his price point is in a really good situation there. Tua at 7K against Kansas City, though. This one's going to be rough for me. Tua just has not looked good against good teams this year. Seen it against Buffalo, struggles 2 picks. Baltimore struggles 2 picks. Faces Dallas. They get it done, but, almost gets to 300 yards, but 1 passing touchdown. And keep looking at it against Kansas City. 193 yards and a touchdown. We look at Philly. 216, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Even against Buffalo. Miami's offense has not looked good as a whole, right? Against good teams. So I don't think I'm looking at Tua. CJ Stroud against Cleveland. Obviously, this is going to be a game that's either really low scoring or really high scoring. And you could say that about some games, but I generally feel this way. Houston's offense is just so good with CJ Stroud in it. Just so good. Obviously, lost some weapons for him in Tank Dell. Robert Woods being banged up. Noah Brown banged up. We'll see what his wide receiver room looks like going into this game. Hopefully he gets healthy so this game becomes a lot better. But I like CJ Stroud at his price point at 6,800. So for that Saturday, we're going to get Cleveland, Houston, Miami, Kansas City. I think 2 really good games there. We were close to getting Deshaun Watson versus his former team. So that would have been great. But luckily we get Joe Flacco. But going down the list, we get Matt Stafford against Detroit. This is something that a lot of people are looking forward to. The quarterback swap that we got that won, the Rams a Super Bowl and changed basically Detroit's organization in a positive way. The amount of talent they were able to get off of Stafford. Jared Goff being in my opinion, a Pro Bowl quarterback, a good game manager, some would call it too. But that matchup's going to be great. Stafford, Kupp, Puka versus Jared Goff. Don't know what Sam Laporta's status is going to be, but I'm going to run that really good run game for Detroit. So that's a good one. I like Stafford in this one against Detroit secondary. Jordan Love against Dallas. I don't love it. I know Jordan Love's been playing really good, but against that Dallas defense, I don't think Jordan Love gets it done. Jared Goff, 6,200. Yes, against a Rams defense. Sam Laporta being out, if he is out, is going to be a huge blow. I'm looking at that leg injury. I don't know if they have it here, but do they already have him out? I might have missed it. Honestly, could have. Yeah, 6,000 Laporta. He's right there. That leg injury looked really, really. You didn't see a snap, but man, that was painful. But I still like Jared Goff against his former team at 6,200 at home. Another team where Jared Goff looks a lot better at home than he does on the road. So, like Jared Goff there. Joe Flacco against Houston. Yeah, 6,100. Joe Flacco, the things that stand out to me is, right, we saw Joe Flacco versus Houston, right? We've already seen it. He's throwing picks. 8 picks in 5 games? Joe Flacco's going to turn the ball over, but you know what Joe Flacco's also going to do? Look at these long touchdowns. 42, 41, 57, 75, 50. He's not afraid to throw the ball. He's not. The passing attempts, right? 44, 45, 44, 42. And the defenses, right? The Rams defense, they don't get it done against LA, but against the Rams defense, the Rams defense has been good. Jacksonville, their defense, no, not good, but still putting up numbers. Bears defense was good when they faced Chicago, still puts up 22. Houston secondary, which could be good at times, we've seen them been really good, 29. And then the ultimate test, not against the Jets team, but against the Jets defense, who Jets have an elite defense, regardless of how bad their offense is. Their defense is elite. Joe Flacco throws 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against them. Yes, like Joe Flacco at his price point, yes. Great play. He's the cheapest quarterback on that Saturday slate, so I really like Joe Flacco. And then going down, Baker Mayfield against Philly. If Baker Mayfield is healthy, we hear updates about his health. I just don't. I think he's dealing with a lot of pain, and you can look at it in his 2 last games against division opponents. Against New Orleans, he throws for 300 yards, but if I can remember, a majority of that comes in the second half. A lot of turnovers in that game too. The momentum wasn't there, and struggled. 9 points, 0 touchdowns offensively against a Carolina team. Baker only throws 137 yards with 32 pass attempts. So if he could be healthy, we saw it earlier against Philly at that, when they were a healthier defense then, and their defense played a lot better than they are now. 15 for 25, 146 yards, a touchdown and a pick. So I don't like Baker Mayfield. I just think he's too banged up. And granted, like I said, his price is going to be different on the showdown. But if you were to play the 6 games, I don't think it's valuable enough with how banged up Baker's been. Mason Rudolph's 5,300 against Buffalo. Now, granted, Mason Rudolph has played the best quarterback play we've seen a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback play. They beat Baltimore, right? But that's a Baltimore team with a lot of starters out. We see them beat Seattle. Seattle's defense is good. We see them beat Cincy. Cincy's defense is good. But this Bills defense is fairly healthy. I don't think there's a way Pittsburgh comes out on top. Maybe because they're throwing the ball that much, but at 5,300, I don't think it's worth it. So moving on to running backs now, we get Kyren Williams against Detroit. As much as I love Kyren Williams, and I think the amount of volume he gets, and his price point is very good. 7,300 is the cheapest it's been since week 14. I just don't think it's worth playing him against Detroit. Luckily, that game's on the 3-game slate, so you're going to have options there at running back. You don't have to pay up at 7,300. I just think it's too expensive against that Detroit team that plays running backs really good. I think this is a game, if he succeeds, it's because he gets the red zone looks and scores off of that. Rashard White at 6,900 against Philly, same thing. I just don't think it's worth paying up. Like I said, the price is going to be different for the showdown, but for the 6 games, for here's sake, let's say that. So Rashard White at 6,900 against Philly's defense, who plays running backs well, and struggled against a Carolina defense that does not play running backs well at all. He had one of his worst games he's had since the little pop-off streak he did. You can say New Orleans. I'll take that as well. 3.8 versus 3.9. But getting 19 carries for 75 yards, 4 receptions for 18 against that bad of a defense compared to New Orleans, I don't like it. Devon Achane is a name to watch for. I think he's a good play if Mostert is out. McDaniels said that Mostert should play. So if that is their tournament plays, they kind of go out of cash for me. James Cook against Pittsburgh at 6,600. I think his price is really good, and I'm okay with that price point there in that matchup against Pittsburgh. Jahmyr Gibbs against the Rams. I think he's a good play. Obviously, both Detroit running backs are the same thing as like Miami running backs, same thing as Pittsburgh running backs. You just can't have a favorite. They just split volume. I think this is a good game for Jahmyr Gibbs, especially if Laporta is out. I think this game favors Gibbs in that aspect. But David Montgomery, like I said, they split work. So I lean Jahmyr Gibbs. Even though his price point is higher, I'd lean him. Pacheco against Miami at 6,400. Yes, I'm okay with the bad matchup against Miami with how banged up their defense is, especially in that box. I'm okay with Isaiah Pacheco. Aaron Jones against Dallas is definitely no. That's just a really good team against running backs. Tony Pollard against Green Bay, though, 6,100. I think it's a really good game for Tony Pollard. Start his playoff, track as a starter good. And he's got a really good price point at 6,100. DeAndre Swift, no, even if he doesn't play, I'm not really interested in any other running backs. I'm not interested if he's good to go just because of him being questionable. I think he will be good to go, but I could see a scenario where Gainwell, Penny, Scott, whichever running back isn't playing, but the other two running backs other than Swift kind of get some work. So Singletary against Cleveland, no, at 5,700. I don't think this is a game where Devin Singletary gets a high volume game. I think it's an honest defensive game that the offenses are going to have to outperform the defenses, and both offenses are capable of that. See them in week 16. Singletary 9 for 44, still get 4.9 yards per carry, but 3 of 19. Houston just had to pass the ball against that Cleveland defense, so it's kind of what I see again in this one. Ford 5,500 against Houston. I'm okay with that one. I think that's a good price point and good matchup for him against Houston's defense. The Pittsburgh running backs I don't really like. Usually I like, but I don't like either one in this. Obviously always tournament play, but I don't think it's worth getting either one this week. And that is it for running backs. Really quick before we move on, guys, if you follow my content and, go off my player pools that I kind of have and breakdowns and stuff like that. This is the line I ended up going with. This was the main line that I had, right? I had it in single entries. You can see here double up, so it's not like I'm playing tons of lines and I just picked the best one. This is a single entry double up. Unfortunately, we're only at 2,700 entries, but it's the highest entry $25 double up. We cashed pretty good. Probably one of my best lines I've had all season. 169 points. Nick Mullins at quarterback. High own. Paid off, though. Almost 400 yards. Unfortunately, got one pick, so kind of took away a point towards the end, him throwing that pick. Zamir White, yet again, another high own running back. Hits the 100-yard bonus. 16 points, perfect. Jamal Williams almost was a huge dud for me with Kamara being out. Kendra Miller was in, but I figured they'd go Jamal Williams, and he was in a good position, and he was, and it was a bad game until Jameis Winston went in that offense. I won't blame Jameis Winston solely, but that Saints offense went rogue, and Jamal Williams got a touchdown and got me the extra 6 points there, so that was a boost. And then going Justin Jefferson stack with Mullins, I think was the play. Obviously 70%, 57%. So I thought that was a great play. And then a run back with Amon-Ra, who that turned out to be another good play. And then one of the plays that kind of, made it different was Amon-Ra 3.7 getting 30. Hurt when you consider CeeDee Lamb for, I think, 700 more, got 9 more points. But I had Calvin Ridley at 3.6. Get me 25 points. That was a huge one there. I went with Allen for the Rams. I think he did good. I wasn't expecting a lot at the Stone Min 2,500. Noah Gray got 0, so I got 6.5 more points than like 20% of the field by going Allen. And then just took the Mason. I should have went Wicks. I had a good feeling about Wicks just getting a Green Bay wide receiver, but I was like, we'll stick with the safe play for the late games in Mason and just cash out. And then Bengals defense gives up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, they had a really, really good day. Overall, like I said, I'm not complaining at all about anything. Had a really good end of the regular season. So now getting back to the playoffs. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb against Green Bay. Yes, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb. No matter what, he's one of my favorite wide receivers. He's a wide receiver I got a lot in fantasy this year that helped me win championships. I'm sticking to it. Tyreek Hill against Kansas City, yes. I think regardless of how underperformed Tyreek Hill has been, which is hard to say when you consider the yardage he's gotten, but the targets, yardage don't add up compared to what we were seeing earlier in the year, right? 15, 215, 11, 157, 9, 181, 10, 163. 15 for 88, that's kind of a game like he had. 13, 112, 11, and you start to get the last 3 games and they don't add up, right? Everton 11, 12, 11, 19, 17, 19, 22, 27. Big difference. And only 1 touchdown in the last 4 games. Obviously dropped 1 against Baltimore. I know that one pained me. as well. But if Jalen Waddle's out, it's going to be Tyreek Hill. I think if Jalen Waddle's in, that helps Tyreek Hill out a lot. So I'm hoping he's in. But I think it's a really good spot for Tyreek Hill, 8,700 against his former team. I think he's a good run back if you like a Kansas City stack going into that game. AJ Brown, like I mentioned, we're looking for the injury status. You can see there, just reading the news about it, but I'm going to be looking at the practice and kind of seeing what reporters say about AJ Brown. But as far as going against Tampa Bay, we saw it in week 3. 9 for 131, no touchdowns, 25 DK points. So I think it's a good spot for AJ Brown if him and Jalen Hurts are both good to go. Amon-Ra against the Rams, yes. I'm that Sunday slate, it seems like Rams Detroit is the game to go to for that Sunday slate. You get Amon-Ra at 8K, Cooper Kupp at 7,500, Puka at 7,200. I think either way, if you go a Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Puka, and then Amon-Ra run back, or vice versa. You go Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, and then get one of the Rams wide receivers. I think that's a really good. Both secondaries I don't think are good, right? I think they have guys that are good, but as a whole they're not good. Rams defense is obviously, in my opinion, overperformed based off of the names they have, which isn't a knock on the Rams defense, right? It's just none of those guys have, besides maybe a couple, Aaron Donald and maybe one other name, none of them are a big enough name to where you see the Rams defensive stats this year to expect that from the names they have. So they've definitely outperformed their expectations, but I think in this game, Detroit's going to have their way with them. Stephon Diggs against Pittsburgh, yes, at 7,400. I think that's a great price for him in a really good matchup. Puka Nacua, 7,200. Mentioned Cooper Kupp, Nacua, both good plays. Nico Collins, I'm watching the injury status of other Houston wide receivers, right? We go to Houston wide receivers. We're looking at Noah Brown, Robert Woods. If they're in, I think that helps. Nico, see what he did against Cleveland, 13.8. Obviously, wasn't Stroud, if I can remember. That was one of the games Stroud was out, right? Cleveland. Yeah, so will be different with Stroud than I can't even remember who they had at quarterback. I have to look now because it's going to blow my mind. Case Keenum. I knew it was something with a K, but going off that, yeah, I like Nico Collins if his wide receiver partners are there. I think that helps him out a lot more against a tough Cleveland secondary. Mike Evans, 6,900. I'm okay with as a run back if you're doing Philly. Obviously, showdown, so you're going to have pretty split Tampa and Philly. Amari Cooper against Houston. Watching the injury status there, I think Amari Cooper's in a really good spot. Devontae Smith, watching that one, 6,700 against Tampa. I think he's in a really good spot as well. Rashee Rice, yes, I love it, 6,600 against Miami. It sounds like Xavier Howard is going to be out still. So it'll be Jalen Ramsey kind of guarding that. Like I said, a lot of injuries. I expect someone like Rashee Rice to step up like he already has. Jalen Waddle, 6,500 against Kansas City. Not really interested in it. Like I said, if he's in, it's good for Tyreek Hill. Chris Godwin, same thing. Price will be different, but I like him in against Philly. Jaden Reed, no. Romeo Doubs, no. Gabe Davis against Pittsburgh. I'm going to lean towards Diggs. I think Davis banged up. It is just not worth it. Had one good game since week 14. If you put week 12 in there, you look at his games, even if you throw week 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games out of the last 11 with under 10 points. Banged up against, he's probably going to have a tougher matchup than Diggs. I would just prefer Diggs or Shakir in that one. George Pickens against Buffalo. I'm going to lean Deontay Johnson than Pickens. Noah Brown, I'm okay with if he's back at his price point. Deontay Johnson, I just mentioned. I'm taking Johnson over Pickens in this matchup. I think he's the better matchup against Buffalo than Pickens. Brandon Cooks against Green Bay. I'm okay with Brandon Cooks at 4,900 as well. Wicks, no. Watson, no if he plays. Elijah Moore, I'd watch. If Elijah Moore is cleared to go somehow, if he is cleared to go against Houston, I think he's a good play, but man, if he's good to go, that is just crazy. That injury looked very, very tough. Julio Jones, 3,900. I'm okay with Julio against his former team. Cedric Wilson against Kansas City, no. Reynolds against the Rams, yes. Was he the one? I think it was Raymond, if I'm not mistaken. Khalif Raymond, yeah, got banged up in the game, so I'm okay with Reynolds in that matchup. Interested to see Jameson Williams' status at 3,500 against the Rams, but I think Reynolds at 3,800, good price point, good matchup there. I think that's pretty much it. Looking at Justin Watson, something to watch for Saturday is the Kansas City wide receiver injury status. I'd lean Justin Watson if you want to go another Kansas City wide receiver. I don't think it's great, obviously, but first price point, 3,400. Mecole Hardman's, I think, another option. 11 targets, 6 for 77. That one's, I feel more confident with Mecole Hardman than Justin Watson, just because of the price point and, the relevancy to having a chemistry with Mahomes versus Watson, who is just kind of building the chemistry. Watson's got the touchdown upside more than Hardman, but Hardman's got that deep ball threat, so I think it's a toss-up, but I'll just lean Hardman for the price. So that's it for wide receiver tight end. Travis Kelce, 6,100. I'm gonna be baffled if, maybe I'm wrong and these aren't the prices, but I don't know why the prices would be different on a 2-game, 3-game, and 6-game. I would imagine they're the same. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would imagine these are the prices. But Travis Kelce, 6,100 against Miami. That is a crazy price point for Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Talking at one point, we can go look at Travis Kelce here early in the season. At one point, you're paying like $15,000 for a Kelce Mahomes stack. You're paying $13,000 for a Mahomes Kelce stack. You could do a Mahomes Kelce Rice Hill stack, or with a Tyreek Hill run back, and still be good. Laporta, watch his status. I imagine he's out. I can't see a scenario where he's in. 5,600 Njoku against Houston. 16.4. Kind of been the best target for Joe Flacco. Yeah. Dallas Goedert against Tampa, 4,800. I'm okay with this one. Saw it in week 3. 5 for 41, 9.1 points at 4,800. Jake Ferguson against Green Bay, yes, 4,700. Definitely okay with that one. Kincaid against Pittsburgh, yes. We saw it in that game. The last 2 weeks, 15 targets and 80-plus yards in both games, but Kincaid was relied upon. Kincaid and Knox were relied upon quite a bit in that game. Schultz against Cleveland, I just don't think you need to get there. I'd rather pay up at Njoku or Kelce than go Schultz. Freiermuth against Buffalo, no. Higbee against Detroit, if he's good to go, which I imagine he is, at 3,400, yes, I'm okay with that one. Kraft and Musgrave, no. Kate Otten against Philly, yes. But I'd be weary, right? He's not a huge volume guy. He's not a huge upside guy. But if you're looking for a pay down in the showdown, which he will be cheaper, that's an option as well. I didn't know. Okay, Brock Wright, they say he's good to go. The other tight end is Mitchell. That's something to watch for. Is the Detroit tight end status. If Laporta's out, you get Brock Wright at 3,000 or James Mitchell 2,800. So that's something to watch out for as well. Miami tight end, just don't think it's worth it. Dawson Knox, 2 for 22 and a touchdown. Pays off, especially at his price point. If Higbee's out, Allen's there at 2,700. And that's it. Defenses on the slate. Packers against Dallas. No. Pittsburgh against Buffalo, I'm okay with. I just don't love with TJ Watt being out, but Buffalo turns the ball over quite a bit. You've seen what Pittsburgh's defense has done in 2 out of the last 3 games, but you've also seen some underperforming games as well. Rams against Detroit, no, not really liking that one. Miami against Kansas City, no. Chiefs against Miami, yes. Texans against Cleveland, yeah, I'm okay with Texans in this one at 3K against Cleveland. Still puts up 70K points when they allow 36 points. They get a touchdown, which gets them the majority of the points. We get to sack and 2 interceptions. Can see a similar thing. Lions, no. Bucks, Bucks maybe. I think they're up there in price. I'm more looking at Buffalo or Kansas City as 2 of my top options at defense. So hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. That means a lot to me. Like I said, I will try to get videos out for each of the slates, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So if you guys are interested, check that out later in the week. Thank you guys for an amazing regular season. I know a lot of people reached out to me with a lot of feedback and appreciation, and I appreciate all of it. Good, bad, all of it. I do appreciate it. So hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.